Hey everyone, welcome to Sideline Sports. Tuesday night, you know where it is, the place to be. Check out all our social medias. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel first and foremost before we get started on anything. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Sideline Sports Network. How are we doing tonight, gentlemen?
Doing well. Another great night.
I'm a little frustrated watching the Rangers game as we speak.
How are they doing?
It's currently 2-2, so I was happy because we were up 2-0 at one point, but now it's 2-2, and I'm not loving that.
They were doing well.
That's all right. You know what? I'll take it. Look, Rangers, Penguins. It's going to be a good series. I'm not worried, but we'll talk hockey later because we have more important things to talk about right now. John, you still were at the NFL draft, were you not?
Yes, I was, and I was backstage interviewing some of the players and meeting some of the players, and that was a fantastic time getting that opportunity with Sideline Sports Network, of course, providing all the great opportunities here. You gentlemen are so great. So I want to talk about the first couple picks in the draft. First of all, Trayvon Walker. What do you guys think of this pick, and was it the right pick?
I like it. Plain and simple. I like it. What's not to like about it?
You like it? No, you like it over Aiden Hutchinson? You like it over Kayvon Thibodeau?
I think Thibodeau was probably. I think it was either Hutchinson or Walker. It was a 1-2, and obviously they saw something I didn't personally. I think I would have probably gone Hutchinson, but that's just me. But between Hutchinson and Walker, it was kind of a toss up, and I don't think there was any going wrong with that first pick. I don't think either of those young men were going to be a bad choice necessarily.
JB?
Yeah, I disagree with the order of it. You know, I would have taken Hutchinson first, but I'm kind of glad he went to Detroit. You know, it's kind of a feel-good story, even though Detroit was getting lambasted by the NFL for bringing that pick in way too quick. Because, you know, the NFL wanted to milk as long as they could,
of course,
on that draft coverage. But I kind of like that he went to Detroit. You know, I think that, to me, the winners of the draft, though, were the Jets, as much as it pains me to say that. I thought they did really well looking at what they did. The thing that shocked me was the quarterback situation. Now, granted, this was a weak quarterback draft compared to what we've seen. But, you know, sitting there as a Giant fan, knowing we have Daniel Jones, and you got the kid out of Liberty sitting there, and you're like,
Malik Willis.
Yeah.
Yes. You know, come on, take a shot on him. It's the third round. I mean, really, is this offensive line going to help us here? I get their offensive line sucks. Let's take a shot.
Part of the problem is not just for the Giants, for all teams, the quarterback market is still pretty decent in terms of who you could trade for right now. Jimmy G still to be up in the air in terms of availability. You know, people believe Jimmy G is available. Baker is very obviously available. So that's two, I would say, decent, at the very least, decent starting quarterbacks, guys that you could trade for, and absolutely. So yeah, let's go start this guy day one. You know,
but
that situation.
But you have a shot to draft somebody in the third round, not really lose anything. Have him sit on the bench for a year behind Daniel Jones, who's going to be playing anyway. And
you're talking about the Giants trading for a quarterback? No,
not that
trading. Was never going to happen.
Not trading. They could have drafted a quarterback.
But why?
Why? Because Daniel Jones sucks. That's why.
Yeah, but okay. But hold on. But here's the thing: the poor guy has had, in his defense, he's had no offensive line. Okay, he has no consistency at head coach. You got to give the kid a chance with a new head coach. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And I know this is his best head coach yet, and you know that. You and I both know this is his best chance.
Anyway. Jake, he's the starter anyway. There's nothing wrong with having a backup. And did you give somebody a year or two to learn? You didn't
what's
pick
the
up
point
a
of drafting
option. What's the point of drafting?
That's it right there. If Daniel Jones sucks this year, that's what you do. Especially because you know what? The quarterbacks this year weren't good. They weren't.
How do you know who's going to be good? Habert was not the best quarterback out of that draft. He got picked third out of the three quarterbacks. And look at his stats. He's by far exceeded what was thought of him.
That's fine, but I'm just saying. So we've made John upset now. Look what we've done. No, but you know what? Here's the thing. The Giants said Daniel Jones is the starter. Daniel Jones is the starter. If you draft a quarterback, It's a bad look. Give your faith to the guy for one more year. You didn't pick up his fifth-year option, so this is obviously make or break. Brian Daboll has proved he's a great coach in terms of fixing quarterback, right? You saw what he did with Josh Allen and the improvement that he made with Josh Allen. And obviously, Josh is now a premier quarterback in this league. I'm not saying Daniel Jones is going to become Josh Allen overnight, but you're going to know pretty quickly if this kid's got the ability to become something good.
Willis was ranked 21st on the big board. You're in the third round. You have a shot to get a first-round talent in the third round. You take a chance. This is the problem. This team does not take chances. It would have cost you nothing to make that move.
But all right, but for one second, think about this.
I'm not saying that we had a bad draft. I was happy with the draft. I thought we did the first round great. This best draft we've had in years.
If Daniel Jones becomes a good quarterback, now you have Malik Willis, and what do? You're going to try and trade him for scraps? I mean,
You get a fifth-round pick, you lose 2 rounds. Who cares?
But you get a fifth-round pick, but instead you could have gotten a potentially good starter for your team at any position of need in the third round instead, and still make it a valuable pick instead of that. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, he just condemned us to another year of garbage, and now we still don't know who the long-term quarterback is. It was a bad.
We don't know who the long-term quarterback. Here's the thing: none of these quarterbacks we knew were going to be long-term. So here's the way you do it: you let Daniel Jones play it out. You give him a chance with Brian Daboll, who's clearly the best coach he's had yet, especially quarterback coach-wise. This is his best opportunity. If he sucks, he sucks. Big deal. Then you go for next year's draft, and it's fine, and nobody cares. It doesn't make a difference. But if he turns out to play well in Daboll, then you look smart for making the right picks.
Bad move. I'm telling you now.
So
put it in the book.
So just to keep going down the draft, so you guys think Aiden Hutchinson was the right pick for the Detroit Lions?
Oh, absolutely.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. I mean,
I know some people would argue, maybe they try and get a quarterback because Jared Goff is not the answer.
No, I don't think you reach.
There was
just saying some people.
Number 2.
I'm saying some people would argue that that's what they should have done.
Right.
And to those people, I say, you sir or ma'am are foolish.
I thought they were going to do that just because that's a Lions thing to do, like screw up that pick.
No.
But Hutchinson was a perfect pick. There's a reason why they traded their card in basically immediately.
Look.
I was in the draft. I was in the media room when that kid sat down. That kid was so happy.
Oh, I'm
like
sure.
Not just to be drafted, but by the Lions. Like he was talking about how he's happy to be with the Lions.
You stay where you've been playing for the past few years. Yeah, it's a big deal.
I think
that's exciting.
I think the organization got a really good one. I think they had a good draft.
Yeah, I think they had a great draft.
I think they had a fantastic draft.
Go ahead,
John.
Go.
No. I was gonna say. I mean, I love what the Lions did. I love this pick. It's a smart pick. It's not a. Like I always say, top picks, your top 5, top 10. You don't make a risk. Like you don't take a risk. Take the surefire guy. You don't reach for a guy, and that is my transition into the third pick. I thought this was the worst pick of the draft. I thought this was stupid. I thought that this was a classic Texans move. This is what I thought the Lions would do, making a dumb move, top of the draft, and you just reach for a pick that you should not be reaching for. It was the dumbest pick of the draft. Stingley, I like the kid. I'm not saying he's not talented, but you don't take a corner at 3.
First of all,
when you have
he wasn't
all
even the best
holes,
corner on the board.
He wasn't even. No. Yeah, he wasn't even the best corner. You skipped on Sauce, who clearly was.
And the Jets made an absolutely great choice by picking him. By the way,
very
smart pick.
I'm not knocking that pick. I can't knock that pick because he was the best player at that position. So I get it.
Different.
Yeah.
But the Texans, and I told Eric this, you have so many holes to fill, and he's like, "Well, why not take Stingley there if you like a corner?" And I said, a corner doesn't make enough of an impact for me to take him at 3. Look what the Lions did with Okudah a couple years ago at 4. They still regret that pick. Like the only way,
the Texans,
like when the Giants took Barkley a couple years ago with the top pick, and everybody said this guy better be a Hall of Famer, and that to me isn't even potentially good enough. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like he's not that much of an impact. Corner position isn't that much of an impact at the 3 spot, like a defensive end like Thibodeau, like you guys got the guy from Alabama. You got Evan Neal. Like those are cornerstone pieces that you have to have. That is, and the Giants got both. Jake,
We're going to talk about that in a
not only
minute because
did
I do
the
want to talk about that.
Texans
Because
skip on
hold on, real
Thibodeau,
quick, John. I've never been so proud to be a Giants fan
right?
draft wise.
Oh,
But that's what I'm saying.
We'll talk about that in a minute. I want to start with this
No,
first.
but-
Maybe we'll talk about that. Absolutely.
But not only did they skip on one franchise position, because
I get it.
your cornerstone positions, defensive end, quarterback, those positions, left tackle, those positions are cornerstone pieces. Quarterback, I love it, but you cannot take a corner at 3 unless he's Deion Sanders. And to me, Derek Stinling is not Deion Sanders.
I would say the Texans' big mistake was they took not the best corner on the board, first of all. So they didn't even go for the best player in that position, first of all. Second of all, they should have probably traded back, even if it was 4 or 5 picks. So you're still in the top 10. I think Stingley would still be there in that top 10.
I thought he was going to 12 at the Vikings, personally.
Yeah, so that's my point. So I don't think we would see him come off the board like that that early. I don't think there'd be a problem. I think he'd still be there. But there'd be less of a reach if you're taking him at the tail end of the top 10.
Yep.
At least it's somewhat, I don't want to say appropriate, but it's where you expected him to be.
Yeah.
As opposed to where they took him. I get the pick, but I think with that pick, you either take Sauce, which is fine. If you take him, fine by me. Like that's at least you're taking the best player at said position, and I agree with that. Or you trade back and get somebody else, or get him later at least.
Yeah, it was just a bad pick. The Texans are a bad organization. They, I mean, there were some teams that did really well. The Jets and Giants stand out in my mind.
Absolutely.
For bad organizations from the last few years that maybe have righted the ship, that did what they needed to do in this draft. I mean, me and Jake were texting during the first round, and I said, "Wow, the Giants actually did the right thing." The only thing I was disappointed with, I would have liked them when they took Thibodeau. I would have liked to have the other tackle, Kwame. But I'm not upset with Neil.
I'll touch on that in a minute.
It was apples to oranges with. I mean, you could have. Yeah. You can't go wrong with either guy.
No, I mean, I'm not upset by it.
Yeah.
That would have been my preference.
Right?
You got two cornerstone pieces, as you say. Yeah, Jake.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about that anyway. So the reason I love what the Giants did was because of the way they made their picks. So Thibodeau was probably not going to be there at their next pick. Their first pick had to be Thibodeau, and I think that's the important thing of why I'm happy the way they did it. Because if you're talking about offensive linemen, right, between Kwame and Neal, they were, John said it, apples to orange. That's your 1A, 1B. Big deal. You're perfectly happy getting either of them as the Giants, right?
And you're guaranteed at 7. Yep.
Right, and you know that both of them will be there after your pick at 5. There's only one pick in between. So the worst comes to worst, one of them leaves, big deal. The other one's still sitting there. But the problem was if you go for one of those guys at 5, which no one would have judged them for doing because they needed that, and those were good picks no matter what, you probably lose on Thibodeau at 7, though. He's probably no longer there. It probably
you're outsmarting yourself at that point.
Exactly. And that's why, while I don't entirely disagree with what you said, JB, in terms of who I preferred, I was perfectly happy with the way the Giants did, and I love the thought behind it, because I think what they said was, we got 2 options. We can either get Thibodeau and one of the 2 offensive linemen that we love, or we can get the offensive lineman that we prefer and then have to probably reach on a player at 7 or trade out of 7. And I think that's why the Giants made a phenomenal, one of the best possible draft moves, because the way I see it was, but the difference between Thibodeau and the next guy was, it's like this. It's a big difference, as opposed to your 2 linemen. You're looking at like this. They're basically neck and neck. Maybe one's above the other by just the slightest margin.
I wouldn't have been upset if we took both linemen, to be honest with you. And
I got that.
Both tackle positions.
Oh, that would be amazing too.
I wouldn't have been upset with that either, but I like getting both positional needs taken care of. I appreciated that.
I haven't been this happy about a draft in years. I mean, this was a really good job.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think the Giants, in terms of the first round, may have had the best first round, other than probably the Jets.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
I
I
would
thought
say
the
Jets or
Giants just
Giants.
2 franchise
Actually,
pieces, as I mentioned. You can't beat that. You top
No.
7 picks, you have
yeah.
5 and 7, and you get 2
And
cornerstone pieces
yeah,
that I believe are both going to be fantastic
uh,
players.
that's the important thing. They didn't just draft cornerstone pieces or pick people at 5 and 7. They pick players that are positional needs that will make an impact most likely right away, and they
Yep.
take care of what needs to be taken care of. And that's why, as Giants fans, JB and myself, we're ecstatic because why? They finally did what they're supposed to do, which is take care of business instead of stupid players like Kadarius Toney in the first round. There were better players on the board last year, right? There were other positional needs
Way better.
that were
Tony wasn't
much
even
more
a first
value.
round pick to me.
Exactly. But in terms of value, the Giants hit on both picks. I think they went through the process of outsmarting themselves and realized that they would outsmart themselves if they did it otherwise. And they made the what I believe was the right picks for those 2 picks. And I couldn't be happier. I'm ecstatic. And look, the way I see it, if they don't pan out, I'm not going to judge the Giants because
No, because it was the
you
right
have players
pick.
that don't pan out. It happens.
Yeah, it
But
was the right picks for the right time.
exactly. Joe
That's all you
Shane,
want.
Brian Dable, the way I look at it, they haven't played a snap. Nothing has happened yet. But in terms of building trust as a fan, as a somebody that loves and appreciates football, they've earned my trust so far because of the moves they're making. That is smart moves. That's how you gain the trust of myself, other fans, other analysts, other people that watch the game, because you make the right choices. You don't make the stupid choices like we've seen in the past. I couldn't be happier. I'm truly ecstatic.
So some of these, JB, go on, finish your statement, then we'll
No,
move
I
on.
mean, it's just the right way to run a draft. And sometimes the players don't pan out, but if it's the right guy for the right pick, you don't get mad at the team. You get mad
Right.
at the player, and that happens. But if you're just picking a Kadarius Toney who doesn't belong in that spot and he doesn't pan out, that's the team's fault.
That's when you
But
get pissed because you're like, why would you do that?
Exactly. When you're picking the person who should be number 5 and he doesn't pan out, that's not the team's fault. They did their homework. These guys were picked where they should have been picked.
Exactly.
And hopefully their talent and everything, the scouts are right and they live up to their expectations. If they do, we got two hell of a players coming to MetLife Stadium.
Absolutely.
So I want to talk about some more picks. First of all, I wanted to talk about the Falcons. What do you guys think about Drake London just quickly? Do you guys like this pick for the Falcons at 8? I'm not sure I love a receiver at 8 when you're the Falcons. You have a lot more holes, kind of like the Texans. I feel like you have more. I mean, I understand the wide receiver thing with Calvin Ridley, but
yeah,
with
I
all
think
these
Falcons,
holes that you have, I really don't like a receiver at 8. I feel like it's a bit of a reach.
To me, it feels like they were just trying to go with what they felt was the best player on the board. And I get it. I understand it. I'm glad the one thing they didn't do was draft a quarterback at that position. And I say that because they already have Mariota. And I'm not saying he's great. Mariota is not necessarily he's not the answer for the future, or at least we don't know that he is. He might be. Who knows? Maybe he revives his career. We don't know. But what I do like is I think they knew that the quarterbacks weren't great. And if they didn't get one, it wasn't the end of the world. I also think they knew they weren't going to be all gone by the end of the first round. Clearly, they knew something we didn't know. But I don't hate the pick. I think I like the idea behind it. I do think the Calvin Ridley situation really plays into it. They want to be able to try and evaluate how good Mariota actually can be with this team. So I think they want to put some weapons around him to try and really evaluate his talent. Try and figure out if he's a viable option.
And they went and got Desmond
Ritter.
They went and got Desmond Ritter later on. So they got the quarterback that they wanted. Ritter mentioned about how he's not leaving Atlanta until he gets them a Super Bowl. So, I mean, he's extremely confident. I looked at his stats in college. They're not very impressive. But when you go to the NFL, your college stats don't matter anymore. It matters about what you do in the NFL. So we'll see what happens with him. But I don't love the pick, Drake London. I feel like when you're a team that has that many holes, receiver, Drake London isn't Jalen Waddle. He's not Devonta Smith. He's not, you know what I mean? He's not Chase. He's not Jamar Chase. Like,
overall, this draft was a horrible draft.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I don't know, just this year's guys, there was not that group that there's this guy, there's that. It's just, okay, who are we
Right.
going to take? And to go, who would you want the Falcons to have taken there? I mean, if you look at the next couple of picks, they were all receivers except for the offensive
I
tackle.
like the Charles Cross pick by the Seahawks. I would have loved the Falcons to have hit that. That would have been a great pick for them because I love Cross. I think he's up there with Icky and them, but a little bit of a step below them. But I think
But still,
he's a
good
really
pick.
good player.
Absolutely.
And I thought the Seahawks got a steal at 9. And I know it's not sexy, but I thought the Falcons should have addressed the offensive line. With Cross being at 8, I thought he would have been a better fit than London.
John, it's not about what's sexy. That's why I love what the Giants did. They didn't go for both sexy picks. I mean, edge rushers are I don't want to call them sexy, but they're a little more exciting, right? They have that extra appeal. But then just go for a lineman. You know what? I'm cool with it. It doesn't have to be the flashy pick. I don't care because it's what you need. The one team I don't want to talk about them, and I'm sad Eric is not here, but we have to because this team, I mean, with an absolute steal in the first round, we have to talk about the Eagles for a second. I mean, I don't like talking about the Eagles, but I mean, that is a steal and a half. You get A.J. Brown basically for your first round pick. That's in essence what that trade was. A.J. Brown to the Eagles.
And it was an 18th. It wasn't like it was a 5th overall. It was a late first round.
Exactly.
The late first rounder like that. You trade that all day, every day.
I mean, look, it hurt. I hated it. It made me sad. But I give credit to Philly. I mean, look, Jalen Hurts has no excuse to not be good this year.
Him and Tua have zero excuse this year. Both players, you know what I mean? Like they're still developing, but
doesn't matter.
You surrounded them with the receivers. You know what I mean? Philly and Miami both went and got rookie receivers last year. Top tier rookie receivers.
You got Devonta Smith and Jalen Waddle who are great receivers. Yep. And now you've got two of the best receivers in the game, A.J. Brown and Tyreek Hill,
both quarterbacks are in the same boat. No excuse for either guy. Not to make it about my team, but just Jalen Hurts and Tua are in the same exact boat right now.
For once, I agree with you.
If they don't pan out, in my opinion, probably should move on from.
In my opinion, this is a prove-it year for both quarterbacks.
Yes.
More Tua than Jalen Hurts because Jalen Hurts has put up, relatively speaking, better numbers. I'm not calling him better. I'm just saying his numbers overall have probably been a little bit better than Tua, but both are prove-it years. I mean, really, when you look at there's three main quarterbacks to me that are on years to prove themselves: Daniel Jones, Tua, Jalen Hurts. That's it. Those three.
So
it's either you prove it this year or you're gone next year, and that's the end of it. Yep. Because if Jalen Hurts and Tua especially, they just got, some of the best weapons in the game. You better prove to me that you can play with those guys. Because if you can't win with them, you're not going to get better than that. It's not going to get any sweeter than that.
When you compare the Tua to Jalen Hurts has had much better stats, so far.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying he's going to go out there and prove anything at this point. He's just going to go out and play his game, and he'll be fine. He's in the worst division of football still, so they're going to be decent anyway. Tua, on the other hand, had no offensive line last year, so to me, it's almost like he's a rookie still. Let's see what he can do. He's got a new coaching staff. It's going to take time for him to learn. But so there are different pages.
And they fixed his offensive line. They spent a lot of money on that too.
On Jalen Hurts, yards were fine last year. They were okay, 3,100 yards. But 16 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. It's just not good. I'm going to be. His completion percentage is fine. I'm cool with that, but he's got to be throwing close to.
Well, to Jake's point, they drafted Devonta Smith for him. They got Goddard for him. The running game, for some reason, they didn't use last year. They had games where Miles Sanders carried the ball twice in games, so that was on the coaching staff. But they have weapons in Philly now.
Here's what I'll say about Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts needs to throw a minimum of 25 touchdowns next year. Minimum, absolute minimum, or I'd say get the heck out of here. And I'm saying that because he has more time with Devonta Smith. He now has A.J. Brown. So let's say A.J. Brown catches 7 or 8 touchdowns. You throw an extra touchdown to Goddard or Devonta Smith. You just added 9 touchdowns. Now you're If
And
you're
they're
throwing
clearly
25 and
friends.
9, I'm better.
They were together when he got traded to
Yeah,
the Eagles.
absolutely.
They were together.
Right. So my point is, you're adding a guy like AJ Brown. You better be throwing, you don't have to throw double-digit touchdowns to him, but you better be throwing 7, 8, 9 touchdowns to him throughout the season. That's, one every 2 games probably on average.
There's
Depending
no
on
excuse
somewhere in there, it's one.
not to ball out.
Yeah, that's what I expect from him.
I don't.
So that's
I
why
don't
I'm saying
with
that's
that though. When you look at it, now that
Oh,
he
that's
has
because
the
you had him
weapon-
on your fantasy team. You're like that. It's like
No,
that way with
no.
your gambling. You had him on your fantasy team.
No. He's a good quarterback. So is Tua. I think they're both going to be fine.
I think he's a decent quarterback, but
they're both good.
We're not saying they're not going to be. We're just saying this is the last year for them to prove it.
Tua's in a worse position in terms of prove it. I admit that. He is in, I guess, a deeper hole. He needs to prove it more.
I don't know. I think it depends on the system and how it plays to him. I think, I give him half a year to get used to the new system, and then we'll see how he does the second half, where Hurts should come right in, should do fine.
So I want to talk about the receivers. I want to talk about the receivers drafted in front of Detroit's 12th pick with Jameson Williams. So the Jets took Garrett Wilson, which I didn't like. I understand they're trying to get a weapon for Zach Wilson, but they took Garrett Wilson, who I didn't like. Then the Saints traded up to get Chris Olave. Well, I liked him as a player, but I feel like I love Jameson Williams in this draft. My favorite receiver in this draft. I thought the Chiefs were going to jump up at some point and take this guy. He would have been a perfect fit with Patrick Mahomes. This guy's from Bama. I thought he was the best wide receiver in the draft. The Falcons took a receiver before this guy. Jets did. Saints did. And then the Lions were like, okay, I mean, if you're going to leave Jameson Williams at 12 for us, and we trade up as Lions fans, we trade up with Minnesota, division rival, and get Jameson Williams, and the Vikings get screwed. The Vikings gave up. I mean, the Lions gave up basically nothing to get this pick, to move up like what, 20 picks, 15 or 20 picks.
Right.
Vikings like, yeah, sure, Lions. Like, you can move up all these spots, and you don't have to give up next to anything, and you're going to get Jameson Williams. The Vikings were stupid for this. The Lions with a brilliant move. Lions, I mean, they got Jameson Williams and Aiden Hutchinson.
I think ultimately the thing
love
is,
this move.
Some of those picks I think were panic picks a little bit.
I think
that's
so
the
too.
feeling I get.
I just don't understand how you skip Jameson Williams.
No,
should have been the first receiver.
I think the problem is, so the Jets take Wilson, but then the Saints are like, guys are going off the board. So they just they almost hit the panic button, right? There were teams that needed receivers. Jets, Saints, Lions really all did need receivers.
Yeah.
And
the Falcons, yeah.
Right, but I'm just saying in that string of 3 in a row, those guys needed receivers. It feels a little bit like somebody hit the panic button and said, what do I do? And instead of taking logical picks, they're all good receivers, don't get me wrong. I think they just went with who is there, who do we like? Okay. I don't think any of the receivers in this draft are great. I think last year is a good example of a good receiver class, especially Jalen Waddle.
I think Jameson Williams is going to be an absolute stud for Detroit. That's why I thought Kansas City was going to make a move and make a bold move by going and getting this guy for Patrick Mahomes and replacing Tyreek Hill. That's what because him and Patrick Mahomes together would have been absolutely fantastic. And I was surprised that the Lions did what I thought the Chiefs were going to do. And kudos to the Detroit Lions for they did. I mean, they not only screwed over the Vikings, but the Packers don't get this guy. Packers could have tried to jump up at that spot, but no, it's the Lions who we never expect. And I just can't say enough about this.
So I want to jump ahead a couple picks. I want to go to number 20. That's the Steelers. I don't know what the Steelers were thinking. I like Kenny Pickett. I think he's a good quarterback, and don't take us the wrong way. I think he's a solid quarterback. But I don't know what they were thinking taking him at 20th overall. To me, it makes no sense. I think their biggest positional need was probably a wide receiver at that position. You just lost Juju, even though he was hurt last season. Juju's an important player. You got Deontay Johnson. You got Chase Claypool, but I've never liked either of them. I think that they're both just especially Claypool is just too much in his own head, too much of a diva, too much of a, all the negative things I could say. I don't love either of them. I think their best receiver probably right now is their tight end, Pat Freiermuth. I think, he's their best weapon.
I mean, Deontay Johnson had 107 catches, 1,161 yards, and 8 scores. So he was pretty damn good for them last year.
I don't mean it like that. I mean, I don't like him in terms of personality. I don't think.
Oh, okay.
I think, you want to talk culture fits it's an important thing. To me, he doesn't, both of them, him and Claypool, more Claypool than Johnson, but they're just, I don't feel like they're the right fits for that team. It's something about them, especially Claypool, like I said, just he rubs me the wrong way.
That's a typical Steelers receiver.
No, but you know what?
Mike Wallace, Antonio Brown, Juju, Claypool. I mean, these are all the diva receivers. It's a Steelers thing, man. It's always been
but anyway, but my point is, why would you go for Kenny Pickett? I mean, you just signed Mitch Trubisky. I mean, to me, it seemed like, okay, he's your day one starter. He learned under Josh Allen. He's a decent quarterback. Let's give him a shot. What are you hoping to get with Kenny Pickett? Because if he becomes your starter, then I throw into question, well, why the heck did you go out and sign Mitch? What was the point of signing Mitch at that point when you did? It was pretty clear you thought he was a starter, right? So what was the logic there? And also, I mean, I hate to be like everybody else, but Kenny Pickett's hand size is a little concerning, and also the fact that they shrunk apparently. Like the measurements were between a couple days that the size was different. I mean, that's a little bit strange to me. I just and look, if we were going to draft a quarterback, I don't think Kenny Pickett was the guy.
I just thought it was too high. JB,
I'm not a fan of the pick, but Trubisky's not your long-term starter. Trubisky was the guy because they had nobody at this point. He was available and fit the salary.
Which I get.
And why not take a shot? Pickett, that's the guy that they felt would be best for them.
I mean,
what wide receiver was there at that point that was that exciting that, compared to who they got in the second round? It wasn't like they were getting somebody that was that much better. Wide receiver was probably the deepest position of the draft.
Oh, yeah. I mean, as we said, the receivers were all gone, by the time they got to 20.
So there was nothing wrong with that pick. Do I think it was the right quarterback for them? Probably not, but you have Trubisky. The guy's Pickett's going to sit on the bench. He's going to learn the job. If it doesn't work out, all right, they wasted one first-round pick. What were they going to get that would be that much better?
Well, I think what they could have done was trade back into the second round, give up their first-rounder because they clearly didn't find any receivers they liked there. So trade out of the first round, maybe get a couple, a second round and maybe a fifth round pick, maybe, right? You get a second and a fifth for your first. You have multiple second round picks. Now you could possibly get your quarterback that you want, Kenny Pickett or Desmond Ridder or Malik Willis. You can get him in the second round and you can get a wide receiver, but it just, to me, that would have made more sense. And then you get an extra pick in the fifth. Big deal, right? It would have made more sense to me to trade out just because I didn't think Kenny Pickett was a first-round pick. I didn't think any of these quarterbacks were really first-round picks. This was one of the weakest quarterback drafts I've probably ever seen. It was horrendous.
It was horrible.
They're not bad players by any means, but they're not. You're not. Yeah. They're not your Kyler Murrays, your Josh Allens,
all these
your
guys,
typical first-round guys that you want to have. That you're salivating to get one of them. These guys, you just see them and you're like, this looks okay. I might be interested in it later on, but not now.
To touch on your point, Jake, I agree. I think all these quarterbacks are quarterbacks that you're going to have to sit for the first year or maybe two. I think they're all projects. I don't think any of them are day one starters.
Oh, without a doubt.
So I completely agree that's why I wouldn't spend a first-round pick on any of these guys. If you're going to spend a first-round pick on a quarterback, to me, he better be playing. Yep. You know what I'm saying?
Or if he's not playing, it just he shouldn't be a project. It should be we just want him to sit and learn for a year because we think it'll help his mental developments, as opposed to he's going to be a legitimate a project like a guy like Josh Allen. If they sat him for a year because somebody else was starting, fine. It's not because Josh Allen was a project. It was because they just wanted him to learn. Now, that wasn't the case, but, I picked Josh Allen because he's a recent quarterback, right? He's
Yeah.
a good quarterback, though, and he was worth the first-round pick because look at what he's done. To me, it was not a smart choice. It didn't make sense.
When Josh Allen got picked, there was nothing but doubt from everyone. Why
Yes,
the
they
Bills
did say
taking
he was
him?
raw. They said he was raw.
That's
when he
fine.
came out.
Coming out, he wasn't going to be ready to do it. He's not going to be able to play in the cold. What are they going to do up in Buffalo? This is the wrong pick, And sure enough, everybody was wrong, So
It's fair.
how can you, you can't say that Pickett's the wrong pick right now. Would that have been the pick I would have gone with?
I don't say that. I'm not saying Pickett's a bad pick. I just don't think he was a first-round pick. And I
don't think any of them were.
My point is, you could have gotten him in the second or third round still. And I'm not saying that because of hindsight. I'm saying that because this was not a heavy quarterback draft.
I don't think you would have been worried about anybody stealing him from
right.
you.
That's what I mean.
No.
I mean, I got to be honest. I also don't think he was going to be the first quarterback off the board for anybody else. I don't believe it was like, oh, everybody's going after Pickett. It's like, no, the bigger names were actually Desmond Ridder and Malik Willis, and Pickett was probably considered third on that list, most likely, right? He wasn't it's not that he's bad. He just wasn't the number one guy.
No, it's just he wasn't the guy. Completely correct.
And speaking of quarterbacks, so Malik Willis goes to the Titans. Did you guys hear what Ryan Tannehill said today?
Nope.
No.
Oh boy. So Ryan Tannehill, let me find it real quick because he did not have any clue that they were going to draft.
Yeah, I heard that they had not consulted, but I don't really care if you don't consult somebody because guess what? They shouldn't have to consult you. They're the team running the team.
No, I agree.
Shouldn't have to go to you and say, "Oh, we're going to draft this guy," unless you draft him like first round and you're like Tannehill's like, "Why would you do that?" You know what I mean? They drafted him like the third round.
Here's what I don't like. This is what Tannehill said. I don't think it's my job to mentor him. If he learns from me along the way, that's a great thing. I hate that attitude. I get Tannehill might be a little frustrated at what happens, and I'm not saying you have to mentor him, but I don't like the way he said that. To me, that rubs me the wrong way. It makes you look like a colossal
What's wrong with
jerk.
that?
What was the question that was asked that he said that? Because there's absolutely nothing wrong with what he said.
I don't know what the question was. I could try and find it for you.
He's the starting quarterback of the Tennessee Titans. All he needs to do is go out, play football, win games.
Because Ben Roethlisberger, JB, said something along the same lines, I believe, last year or the year before when he was asked about something like that. Brett Favre was asked about something like that when Aaron Rodgers came along. Same thing. A lot of these guys are like, it's not my job to mentor them. Now, of course, they're gonna behind the scenes. They're gonna help them. I mean, they're teammates, but they're right. It's not their job to take them under their wing, and you know what I mean. Their job is to be the starting quarterback until they're no longer the starting quarterback.
I've never liked that attitude.
It doesn't bother me one bit.
I don't disagree. Their job is to be the starter, but it reminds me of how Brett Favre treated Aaron Rodgers, and I hated that because it's a very self-centered thought, and I get it. I completely understand. Yes, you're the starter. You got to worry about your own butt.
Forget about being a starter. This is a paycheck. You get paid.
Hold on.
You get
at
paid
the same time, to be fair, hold on.
You're out of
to
order.
Be fair,
out of order.
I can't even finish talking with this guy.
Out of order.
With this guy. No, but what I don't like about it and what bothers me is that he has this attitude of like, who are you to walk in the building? This is a kid that just wants to learn football and to treat him as if he doesn't matter.
And take
as
his
if
job.
But that's not his place to worry about right now. He needs to go out and to keep his job. But my point is, this is a kid that just wants to learn football. He didn't ask to be drafted there. It shouldn't be a personal thing against Malik Willis, which is why I don't like that attitude. It's not like Malik Willis came up to him and said, "Hey man, I'm going to take your job." No, he got drafted not by choice. He was put on this team. Malik Willis didn't say, "I'm going to come take your job." He didn't ask to be drafted by the Titans. The Titans made this decision. Be mad at the organization, not the other players. I'm not saying it's his job to mentor him, but if he's going to give him the cold shoulder, I can't stand that. I think it's just wrong. This is a guy that just wants to learn football, and you can pass some knowledge down to him, whether he's going to be your team's quarterback or another team's quarterback. Why should he suffer because you don't want to be, a little bit caring, a little bit nice, a little bit polite towards him? I'm not saying you have to give him the job. I'm just saying don't be a jerk.
So, question for you: is Malik Willis not going to go out there and try and win the starting job? Is he going to go out and say
he's going to have no chance with that? He's not.
I guess.
But to JB's point, yeah.
Is he going to go out there and say, "Listen, I'm just here to learn. I'm not here to play football"?
No, he could be. I don't know. You say that, but seriously, quarterbacks do that, and I say that because some quarterbacks know. Look, this is not my team. Aaron Rodgers is a perfect example, probably, right? I don't think Aaron Rodgers expected to take over for Brett Favre right away, right? Why? Because Brett Favre was one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Now, Ryan Tannehill's not the same, but when you know the guy is the starter, it's clear he's the starter. You don't try and just steal a thunder right away. You know you got to sit back and earn your place. And that's what I think some players forget and don't realize. This is probably one of those situations where Malik Willis realizes, this is not my place to just take over right away. I got to earn my place on this team.
I mean, injuries happen. I mean, you never know what happens if one. I mean, it happened to Drew Bledsoe. He got injured. Tom Brady took his job, and that was that. I mean, it happens. Ben Roethlisberger, that's how he got his job. He got drafted, and then was it Tommy Maddox got hurt, and Ben Roethlisberger got the job, and that was that. Like, so you never know, because if all it takes is one slip up, Malik Willis has a good game, they ride the hot hand, and then Tannehill never gets his job back. You know what I mean? Like, and then you potentially get cut the year after or something, and then you're out some money. Like, so you have to watch out for yourself. It's not a selfish thing. That's just how the business is.
I get that, but the attitude of it's not my job to mentor him, to treat him, to have that kind of attitude is a little bit. It's self-centered, which I don't like that. Football is a team sport, right?
It is.
So you got to be a team player. I'm not saying no, but football is a team sport. So I'm saying you can't be it can't be the Ryan Tannehill show. It can't be me. You got to be a little bit willing to help what's best for the team. And I'm not saying you want to give up your job. I'm not asking you to give up your job. I'm just saying don't make it all about you. It's not all about Ryan Tannehill.
That makes me think of like anytime somebody says, well, this player didn't take a pay cut to help the team. They're not a team player. No, I mean, you got to do what you got to do to get your paycheck. And if it hurts the team, hey, you have a short window to get that money. So I never knock a person for getting their money. So Tannehill's got to get his paychecks. Never knock a player for that.
Tannehill's already got his paychecks. He's fine.
Hey, if you're paid that much, you want to keep getting paid in that short window with all the hits you take. You want to keep getting paid.
Either way, though, to be on a separate note, let's be real. Ryan Tannehill does not deserve that job. He's not a good quarterback. He's just Without Derrick Henry, he's nothing.
No, but he can't go with that mindset that I suck
as
a quarterback.
But I'm saying that to you. I'm saying that as a piece of conversation for us. Right?
I agree.
Ryan Tannehill is not. I think Malik Willis is going to take that job sooner rather than later. It may not be this year, but don't expect Ryan Tannehill to be started.
Necessarily have the weapons for him anymore. I mean, they just got rid of A.J. Brown.
You know what? Malik Willis, I think, is a more versatile quarterback. I think Ryan Tannehill does not have mobility. I think Malik Willis has got that edge to him. He's got a little more mobility to his, and that's most quarterbacks nowadays. I mean, find me a quarterback in college now that's a pure pocket passer. You're going to be they're far and few between.
Tannehill should have that mobility. He was a freaking wide receiver in college.
But he doesn't have that mobility.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying he should.
You know what I mean? But that's what I mean. So that's one thing that Malik Willis will have, and that's I've said this before. That's something you need.
I see what you did
he
there.
wins games.
I know. That's a reference to last night on the sports arena. I know what he did there.
Well, anyway, that's one of the problems with Tannehill. He's not a pure pocket passer, but he definitely he can be a little bit of a statue at times. He can act like one sometimes, which is something he's got to worry about because look at Eli Manning. Why did he lose his job? He was old, not playing well. And he was a pure pocket passer who couldn't move for his life.
We saw it. We saw Tannehill is not the guy when Derrick Henry went down and Tannehill could do absolutely nothing.
I think that's part of where this stems from. He knows.
Yeah. He is definitely not the guy. And
I think he realizes his time is short.
But as long as he keeps winning games, he'll be there. But
for now,
can't disagree. It's not his job to mentor anybody.
All right, Jake, let's talk some hockey before we get out of here.
Yes, sir. What would you like to talk about, sir?
The NHL playoffs.
No, I don't know if there was something specific you wanted to start with. That's all.
No. You're our hockey guy.
I got you. No, absolutely. I mean, look, I think some of these series. This is probably one of one of the more boring first rounds. I'm going to be completely honest with you.
Really?
I hate some of these matchups. I think they're so boring.
Leafs Lightning is a great matchup.
No, I'm not saying all of them are bad, but like I think some of
Canes
them.
Bruins is a great matchup. Rangers
All right,
Penguins is going to be physical.
So here's what I'll give you that I like. I love Bruins Canes. I agree. Lightning Maple Leafs. I actually don't like it at all, and I'll tell you why in a second. Blues Wild. It's okay. Kings Oilers. I hate it. I'll explain everything.
I love that series.
I'll Rangers Pens. I love that not only because I'm a Rangers fan, but division rivalries. That's pretty obvious. Panthers Caps. I actually kind of enjoy that. I do like that idea. I think
it's going to be a good series.
Predators Avalanche. I think is going to be boring as can be.
Yeah.
And Stars Flames. Same thing. I'm just uninterested. So I'll give you a rundown of simply why. Canes Bruins. I mean, look. The Canes are the better team, but the Bruins will give them a fight. It's plain and simple. John, you know that.
Yep.
Just because you're the better team doesn't mean anything. The Bruins are experienced. The Canes are not as experienced. That's something that the Bruins have over the Canes, despite you being the better team. It's going to be a fun matchup no matter what. I think the Canes win in 5 or 6 games. I don't think it's going to be a 7-game series by any stretch of the imagination, but so. Canes move on in my mind. Yeah. The reason I don't like the Lightning and the Maple Leafs, and John, I think you'll agree with this, the Lightning – despite probably having some fatigue from winning back-to-back cups, there's one thing that the Maple Leafs are just amazing at doing. You know what that is, John? It's choking in the playoffs. They excel at that one. You know what? They won 5-0 last night, and you know how much stock I put into that? Zip. Because if I go year by year, this is what they do. They come out hot. They look good in the first 2 or 3 games, and then they fizzle out and absolutely
I just want the Lightning to be out of this. That's all I want.
Look, I'd love that too.
Wasn't that the same take on the Capitals before they won it, and the same take on the Lightning?
No, so the Capitals,
it's the different Capitals with the
was
Leafs.
Different because the Capitals at least could make the second round. The Maple Leafs don't even get to the second round. The Maple Leafs they implode after the first few games.
The last time a Canadian hockey team won the Stanley Cup. I mean, holy crap! I can't even remember the last time.
Yeah, but choking is choking,
and that's their sport. And it's like they're cursed. Like they always find a way.
It's pretty rough
to choke it away. Weren't they up like 3-0 in a series or 3-1 a couple years ago, and they found a way to choke that away.
That's my point.
It's like to the Flyers or something like that. So
that is my point, John.
They always find a way.
Okay, just to point out. Last year, in the first round, they lost. Didn't win a game. The year before that, I'd like to point out, since 2017, they've made the playoffs every year since 2017. This is their first season that they've won a single game.
I didn't even
know that. In 2017,
they
lost in the first round. 0. Excuse me. That's not. I'm sorry. I misread. They haven't won a round since 2017. They've advanced to the first round minimum, or in 2020, which doesn't really count, but that play-in round, they haven't won a single series since 2017, and they've been to the playoffs every single year. And that's my point. So they've won games, so I take that back. I knew they won games. I knew that for a fact. But my point is, they win every year. They get into the playoffs. They look good in the regular season. They can't even win in the first round. And even if they win in the first round, this team somehow finds a way to lose every single year. That's why I'm not interested in this series. They'll win 2 or 3 games in this series. The Lightning will end up winning in 6 or 7, and that'll be the end of it because that's what they do. It's the Maple Leaf curse. It's just the way it is. Blues Wild, I said I kind of like that, actually. The Blues are a weird team. They won a couple years ago. They looked so good. Now they're like, what are they, right? Last year, they weren't nearly as good, and it's just they're one of those teams that I'm confused by when I watch them.
They remind me of St. Louis Cardinals in baseball.
Right. They're good. I know they're good, but they have these seasons where they're like really good. They win it all, and then they fall, and now they're back. And the Wild are a good young team. Marc-Andre Fleury at goalie now. I think it's going to be a solid series. I think it goes 6-7 games. I know the Blues won 4-0, but again, the first games don't mean a lot for the most part for most teams. Most of the time, it's kind of hard to judge. Kings Oilers. Why don't I like this series? Okay, I will tell you why, John.
I love it.
I hate it. And it's very simple. There's 2 things. First of all, the Oilers should be decimating the Kings. They lost last night because that's what the Oilers do. Yep. Second of all, even if the Kings advance past this round, they're not going anywhere. That's it. They'll go one more round. That's it. They will lose next round, period. End of story. Doesn't matter who they face. They will lose. They snuck into the playoffs. They shouldn't have been here in the first place. They're not a playoff caliber team.
This is how hockey works. Hockey's Jake.
know, that's fine. I
Hockey's
know that.
different than any other
Once you get
sport.
to the playoffs
Yep.
in hockey, if you get a hot goalie, you can
doesn't
make a
matter.
run.
But the Kings don't have a hot goalie right now. That's the problem.
But JB's saying, like,
I know.
In hockey,
I know.
hockey's the one sport where any team can make a run. It doesn't
You're
matter
not
if you're
wrong.
8th seed or whatever.
But
Hockey is that one sport.
Why I don't like this is even if the Oilers advance, the Oilers find a way to lose every single year. It's just like the Maple Leafs. So I'm not impressed by these teams. Rangers, Penguins, I absolutely love, not because the Penguins are particularly good. They're an okay team. The Rangers are the far better team, in my opinion. I think the Penguins are a solid team. They're still good, but they're getting older. The Rangers have this incredible just well of just young players, which could work to their disadvantage, ironically. But it's going to be fun no matter what, because these two teams, this first game is proof. It's 3-3. There's about 11 and a half minutes in the first period. I mean, it's exactly what you expect.
Great game so far.
Yeah,
It's a great game.
It's
fun to watch.
It's a rivalry that you can't beat it. It's just that's the way it is. Caps, Panthers. I think it's okay. I don't hate it. The main reason I don't hate it is, the Panthers are good and they are clearly the best team. President's Trophy curse is the real thing. That's why I don't have the Panthers winning the cup, because of course I don't.
And they're an inexperienced team, like playoff wise, so we don't know
but
what
I love,
they are.
I love the matchup. Well, I enjoy the matchup because the Caps do have that veteran mentality, that veteran leadership. They're a solid team still, even though they also snuck into the playoffs, kind of like the Kings. I think they'll give the Panthers a run for their money.
I just don't see the Caps winning.
I think they'll give them a run for their money, and it'll scare the Panthers a little bit. That's what
I don't see the Panthers losing this series, but at the same time, they're going to have to play a different type of hockey because they were scoring so many goals. Playoff hockey isn't about, open skating and scoring 6 goals, 7, 8 goals a game. It doesn't happen. The game gets very compact. There's hitting. It's a different game.
And then that brings me to the Predators and Avalanche. Why don't I like that? I don't think I really have to explain. The Preds don't deserve to be in the playoffs either. The Avalanche are one of the teams I think have a good shot at the cup this year. Simple as that. Same thing with the Stars and Flames. I think the Flames are a solid team. They're working well as a team right now. Things are going their way. The Stars barely even made the playoffs. They were a fluke to make the cup. What was it, last season now? They didn't deserve to be there. I just,
and the Avalanche, to
me,
are one of these teams. You mentioned the Avalanche. They're one of these teams that every year they look really, really good, and they get to the second round and they fall apart every year. Remember what happened with the Vegas Golden Knights?
Yeah,
stopping them,
remember.
And we all thought it was
like
over.
You said, it's been consistent that they do that.
Yep.
They just can't get over that hump.
They get a pass. Like, nobody gives them a tough time for it. Everybody gives the Leafs a tough time. But the Avalanche fall. I mean, they always fall apart second round.
So, real quick, what I want to do is a little, I guess we'll call it an experiment. I'm going to share my screen real quick. Hopefully I can. It should allow me. There we go. Share. Please work. Perfect. We are going to do a little simulator together. We are going to make our picks as a team, and we're going to see who we think's winning the cup. Let's go. So we're going to go round by round. Okay. So Avs, Preds, I think all three of us would agree. The Avs move on. I don't know if this is interactive. I don't think it is.
Come on, there's got to be.
I don't think it is, but that's okay. It doesn't matter.
All right, Avs.
So we have the Avs here. I think the Blues win this series. I think it's going to be a lengthy series, but I think it's going to be Blues.
I think Blues in 6.
Yeah, Blues.
I think Calgary wins this.
Easily.
And actually, I'm going to say LA wins this.
I say LA as well. And
all right, so
absolutely not.
All right, so we got Avs, Blues, Flames, Kings. I'm taking, despite everything I've said, I'm going to take the Blues to win this series.
I have the Blues as well.
I'm going to be different again with the Avs.
All right, fine. No, that's fair. So it doesn't, that's why I wanted to do this. All right, and then Calgary and Kings. Kings made their Cinderella story, if you will, by getting past the first round. That's it. They don't go farther than that. I got Blues, Calgary right here.
I think the Kings do it again.
You think so?
I got Calgary.
Yep. All right. So John has, JB has Avs, Calgary. I have, what did I say? Blues, Kings, and John has
Kings and Blues.
no. I have Blues, Flames. John has Kings and Blues. Gotcha.
Blues, yep.
All right. So JB, you have Avs and what'd you say? Flames.
Calgary's going all the way to the.
All right. So you think? All right. So Calgary in the Stanley Cup Finals.
Remember, they're in Canada, so
That's yeah.
I'm
John,
breaking the curse here. Canada's going to love me.
John, you're with me. You got Blues, Kings. What do you got?
I got the Kings, man. It's LA's been winning these championships, and LA's going to finally get back to the championship.
I got the Blues in the Stanley Cup Final on my left side. So we got Blues for me. JB, what'd you say? Calgary. And John, you got the Kings. Wow, we are weird. All right, on to the right side of the bracket, the East, and then we'll wrap things up.
Yep.
I say Panthers.
Not
even a question. Lightning.
Leafs.
All right, so John with the Leafs. That's fine. I'm going to take the Canes. I'm going to take the Rangers.
Canes.
Yeah, Canes and Pittsburgh.
I think Pittsburgh.
Ooh, JB with Pittsburgh. Okay.
Pittsburgh.
All right, so I have Panthers, Lightning. John, you said Leafs, right?
Yep.
So I think from this round, the Lightning advance again.
I'm with you, Jake. Lightning.
I think the Leafs advance.
All right, hold on. I'd like to point out, though, no matter what, we all agree President's Trophy Panthers do not get past the second round. I couldn't agree more. Rangers, Canes, it's going to hurt me to say it, but I do like the Canes in that series. I think it would be a great series, but I would pick the Canes. JB, you had Canes.
I got the Canes, though.
Okay.
I got the Canes.
So we all agree. Well, actually, no, John disagrees.
Yeah.
So I got Canes, Lightning. JB, you have Canes, Lightning as well, right?
Yeah.
And John, you have Canes
and Leafs. Go Canes, yeah.
So for me, I would actually pick the Canes to go to the Stanley Cup Final. Yeah. I'm thinking Canes Blues.
I'm with you, Jake. I got the Canes as
and
well.
John, I'm sure I know who you're picking.
We're never going to ask him.
So
Canes,
I had
baby.
Canes Blues. JB, who'd you have? You had Canes and
Calgary.
Okay. And John had Kings.
Yeah.
So of those picks, I'm picking the Blues to win the Stanley Cup. It's not that I don't like the Canes. I just think, the Blues have the experience. That's it. Simple as that.
The curse is broken. The curse is broken.
Get out of here.
Oh, Canada.
Oh.
Boo, Canada.
And
go
John,
Canes.
I don't even have to ask you. You picked the Canes to win. I know.
Yeah.
Even though apparently you just before you said, the Kings or the LA won all these championships.
I said they were getting back to the championship. I didn't say they were winning it.
All right. Well, fair enough. So there you go. I got the Blues. JB's got what'd you say? You said the Flames, and John's got the Canes. Well, interesting. All right. Fun exercise. All right, gentlemen. Anything else before we wrap this up?
Make sure you're subscribing on YouTube if you're watching. Jake, what's our YouTube? It's on the bottom of the screen.
Oh yeah, I got you. Don't worry, I got you.
And if you're watching on Fox Sports 1340, thank you. You'll see more great coverage. We got shows every night of the week. Make sure you're watching. We're not going to go around the horn tonight. Everybody knows where to find us.
Yes. I'll make it real quick. Check the bottom of the screen. That's where to find us. Instagram and Twitter, Sideline Sport 1. YouTube, Facebook, Sideline Sports. We're on we're on TikTok, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, DBA Television. We're now working with John's boys in Fox Sports 1340 AM. Yeah. So thank you, John, for that.
We're everywhere.
Absolutely
yes,
everywhere.
We are. NFL draft.
Oh, yeah. And on that note, everybody, have a good one. We'll see you next time.